of our people. They've been attacking civilians many, many times. And you guys don't report that.
Well, we try to report the full story.
It's there. They propagate it.
There is a perception from some human rights groups in Indonesia that senang bisa berbicara lagi dengan Bapak Prabowo. Let's begin with talking about the election.
Of Jakarta is tremendous.
And you are with the army for 20 years. You are also...
28 years, yes.
28 years, it's a long time. Some people perhaps feel like your policies will be viewed through military eyes.
Hostnya Sampai Melongo, saat Prabowo beri jawaban cerdik, viral Prabowo Guncang Publik Dunia, pemirsa Presiden terpilih Indonesia, terus mendapatkan sorotan dari media-media asing. Prabowo banyak mendapatkan pertanyaan isu-isu demokrasi, dan hal-hal lainnya. Kita patut bangga melihat Prabowo begitu lugas dan tegas memberi statement jawaban, dan ini membuktikan kita bukan penonton di kancah global.
For President before twice, why do you think your message appealed to voters this year?
I think a combination of factors, maybe precisely because I ran twice before. I think my message, my narrative, my principles reached the people. And this time, of course, I have to say that I felt that I basically became part of the incumbent team. So I think that also was a great factor.
That's something that many observers have talked about, and they've called it this Jokowi effect, the effect of your perceived closeness with the president and how that may have boosted your chances. What do you make of that?
Well, if you know, President Joko Widodo has what, now 83% favorable rating in the public opinion polls. And of course, the people felt his commitment to bring betterment to the people's conditions, especially the poor. So, yes, I think that Jokowi effect really helped me also.
You, sir, have run against President Jokowi twice. You were political rivals. Was there a genuine change of mind on your part that allowed you to work more closely with him?
You know, traditionally, in Indonesian politics, the winner wants to make sure that his rival doesn't ever re-emerge, right? But this time, I think he understood that I was committed to the betterment of the Indonesian people, especially the poor. And I think basically, which I found out later, he does have the same values as I do.
What are those values?
I think the value as a son of Indonesia, we want our people to live a dignified life. And poverty is not dignified. An independent country, their people must live with the basics. You cannot live in poverty.
We'll talk about poverty in a moment. Yeah. You mentioned sons of Indonesia, and of course, one son who has really been in focus during this whole campaign is your running mate, Gibran Rakabuming Raka, the country's next vice president. A controversial pick, certainly in the early stages of the campaign. What does he bring to the table, apart from being President Joko Widodo's son?
We cannot take the fact that he's the son of President Jokowi as not an important factor. President Jokowi has 82% favorable rating, right?
Is there a quality that the new vice president will bring to the job? Perhaps his youth might be a positive factor.
I think that's also a very important factor. As you know, I think it's more than 52% of our voters are young.
Yes, more than 63 million between 17 and 30.
Right.
During the three-candidate race, what was the main challenge in getting your message across to those young voters?
I think I had the advantage because, you know, the young, they're more concerned about jobs because that's their future. They're concerned about education, they're concerned about jobs, they're concerned about equal opportunities.
So would you dispute, perhaps there were some criticisms of your campaign that there were some gimmicks with the cartoons and the dances, that it actually wasn't about that, it was about the substance that appealed to young people?
Oh, you know, gimmicks are gimmicks, right? I mean, you can have gimmicks and be a clown, right? You can dance all you want and you become a buffoon, or you become... First, I think, is the message. And the young, in this age of social media, the information revolution, you know, they get on very fast. And I think one thing about the young, they see very fast who is genuine and who is acting. So I think I got the advantage there because, you know...
The promises of your potential policies rather than the style of the campaign.
Yeah, not only promises, they see promises make sense or not, right? Promises make sense, promises solve problems or not. I think that's the...
There was also a criticism made during campaign season, before election day, that perhaps your team had an unfair advantage by means of support from the state, by means of potential misuse of social aid. That was something that your opponents repeated, but also some civil society organizations. Does that affect how you perceive the victory in any way at all?
Well, you know, accusations are easily made, but when the scrutiny is done correctly, intensively, I mean, you will find out that those accusations are very empty and very, I would say, very selfish accusations.
Do you deny there was any conversation about this use of social aid during campaign season?
Social aid is there in our budget for many, many years, right? It was approved by all parties in Parliament. So what? And then, can you imagine about this aid, social assistance, right? By the way, outside Indonesia, we have a large community of Indonesians living abroad. Malaysia, Hong Kong, Singapore, the Middle East. And I won by 63%, and there was not one social assistance package sent. And I won by 63%, right? And all these social assistance were given in all provinces, and I lost in 2 of them.
Would you be looking to work with the people who opposed you in the election?
I am willing to work with anybody for the good of the country.
Let's talk about some of the policies that we can expect. And one of the key projects initiated by President Joko Widodo is this new capital project in East Kalimantan. Does this project have your full 100% support?
This idea of moving the capital was actually for many, many years, since even our first president, President Sukarno. And there was always this move that this capital should be more central position, and also that we have problems actually in Jakarta. Jakarta is, I think, already way beyond the capacity of the area to support a population of 20-25 million people. We have to invest more to save Jakarta.
How will you address the concerns about how this project may affect the indigenous communities? There are some NGOs that estimate some 20,000 indigenous people may have to be relocated to make way for infrastructure for the capital. What can be done for them?
The interest, the security, and the future of all the indigenous people are highest priority in my view. We have to protect them. We have to secure their livelihood, and we have to do a lot of planning and research that we do not displace too many people. And if we do, we must compensate, and we have to guarantee their well-being.
Because this is a theme that comes up not only in terms of the new capital, but whenever there are major development projects, for example, the Mandalika Circuit, Lombok, there are indigenous communities who feel they don't receive the benefits of these major infrastructure.
Yeah, I would like to repeat that in my life, in my commitment, that I will defend the interests of my people, indigenous people included. We will defend my strongest support are from those who are weak.
You've proposed many strategies to help low-income households in particular, but a key promise made during the campaign, and in fact the one that was all over the posters in the lead up to the election, was this free lunch program for school children. More than 80 million people will receive this free lunch and free milk. What is the reason that that program
actually,
is needed?
I think free meal program is very urgent, and we have to take urgent measures, and the children of Indonesia are our future. I think this is very strategic for the future of Indonesia.
The cost has been raised as a potential barrier that in the first year this could cost perhaps $7 billion. I understand the government is already looking at how to fund this program, but to you that's not a concern?
To me, that's not a concern. I've studied the problems. I've studied where we can save and where we can reallocate. I'm very convinced.
The aim of this project is to improve the quality of education that Indonesian children receive. What do you see as the main...
Not only quality, to help them in their health, in their fitness. You know, the stunting of Indonesia children is very, I would say, very saddening.
So this program is the intersection of health, education, a variety of aims, but one aim...
The survival of the future of Indonesia. You know, we have started pilot projects. Already 3 months, we have started, not many, but we started in East Indonesia, we started in Kalimantan. And everybody reports after 2-3 months, the children are more lively, attendance rate increase. You know, nowadays they know when they come to school there's lunch or there's a meal. So we are very optimistic about it.
Let's take a look at the situation in eastern Indonesia, in Papua. We have seen incidents of torture, human rights abuses carried out by security forces against indigenous Papuans. There was a recent incident where a man was put in a barrel and tortured by security personnel. When you see those incidents, what is your reaction?
You know, we are the 4th largest population in the world. We are the size of Europe, right? We have many incidents, I'm sure. There are violations. But you compare what's happening in many parts of the world, you know. I'm not defending it. We have taken, I think our record, we have taken measures to punish our security forces who have violated. But if you compare with the size of Indonesia, with the size of the population...
The incidents seem to be concentrated, though, in Papua rather than throughout the country.
How do you know that? Have you been there? Why did you go there?
Well, it's very difficult, actually, for our media to enter Papua.
You talk Papua as if... I'm not defending all incidents we will deal with seriously, but, you know, your question a bit one-sided. Why don't you open the YouTube or the channels of these so-called Papua independence movement? On that channel, you can see how they mistreat their own people.
So would that be ensuring the security of the situation in Papua? How can that be done?
Look, Indonesia is not only Papua. We will ensure security all over Indonesia, right? And our approach is always to negotiate, You know, these terrorists who attack their own people, who attack schools, burn, kill civilians. You talk about one incident.
Yes.
Do you know that they killed workers on the road?
Yes, I know that there are.
But you didn't ask about it. How many workers they killed? Unarmed civilian workers. How many workers they killed? 2, 3, 4?
There have been many incidents. There have been many incidents.
Yeah, what I'm saying is,
civilians.
they carry out acts of terrorism. They what do you call it? Took a hostage, which they have not released, an unarmed foreign civilian, right?
Yes.
Where is the indignation from the NGOs, from the foreign press? No.
I think perhaps the indignation is for both sides, just for people to live safely, Mr. President-elect. And
oh yeah, we will secure the safety of our people. They've been attacking civilians many, many times. And you guys don't report that.
Well, we try to report the full story.
It's there. They propagate it.
There is a perception from some human rights groups in Indonesia that perhaps what the situation needs is less militarization.
That's our national territory. We are not guided by NGOs. We will be guided by our national interest.
There was an earlier, perhaps not a commitment, but something like a promise that the Jokowi administration would allow some observers from the UN to enter Papua to take a look at the situation. But that visit did not happen. Do you see that as something that should happen so that perhaps there can be fewer questions about what is going on?
I will study the situation. I will study the situation.
And perhaps a visit could take place under your administration?
I will study the situation, but as I said, we will think about our national interest.
Indonesia is one of the largest democracies in the world, and we just had a very spirited, lively election campaign, and it was quite, it's quite wonderful to see how generally smoothly everything goes in a country of this size. How do we